Now to CBS 4 News Consumer Alert, and General Mills is pulling its all-purpose flour off store shelves because of E. coli concerns.
That's not some distant health scare. That's your pantry right now. Stop right there. Check your pantry because what I'm about to tell you could save your family from a trip to the ER. Over 400,000 bags of contaminated flour have been yanked from shelves in recent years, and some of the brands responsible are probably in your kitchen right now. So today, I'm exposing 10 deadly flour brands you should throw out right now, plus 4 safer alternatives that won't land your family in the ER. Let's start with number 10. Number 10, Food Club brand. Food Club sits on grocery shelves in Ohio and New York, one of those regional brands you grab without thinking twice. But in March 2024, Shawnee Milling Company had to recall their Food Club all-purpose flour because of something that could kill allergy sufferers in minutes. The flour contained undeclared milk and eggs, not traces. Actual contamination from an equipment breakdown that allowed dairy and egg particles to mix into what should have been pure wheat flour. For someone with a severe milk or egg allergy, this is anaphylaxis waiting to happen. Your throat closes, your blood pressure drops. Without an EpiPen, you could die from making pancakes. The recall was caught relatively quickly and stayed regional. But the fact that basic equipment maintenance failed badly enough to cross-contaminate flour with major allergens tells you everything about their quality control standards. But at least Food Club's contamination was caught before people started dropping. The next brand on our list wasn't quite so lucky. Number 9, Aldi Baker's Corner. Baker's Corner is Aldi's house brand, and the price makes it impossible to resist. Under $1 per pound. Stock up, right? Wrong. In May 2019, Aldi recalled every single 5-pound bag of Baker's Corner all-purpose flour from 11 states after Rhode Island health officials opened a package during routine testing and found E. coli O26, active confirmed E. coli that matched an ongoing multi-state outbreak. 17 people got sick from this batch. 3 ended up hospitalized with severe symptoms. The contamination traced back to wheat supplied by ADM Milling's Buffalo facility, and that name is going to become familiar as we go down this list. E. coli O26 can cause hemolytic uremic syndrome, which leads to kidney failure. For kids and elderly people, it can be fatal. When you're paying 48 cents per pound for flour, you're not getting premium quality control. You're getting whatever made it through the cheapest milling process available. Baker's Corner at least issued a recall when the contamination was discovered. The brands coming up tried to hide behind its wholesomeness instead. Number 8, Hodgson Mill. Hodgson Mill positions itself as the wholesome alternative. Stone ground whole wheat, natural ingredients. The kind of brand health-conscious bakers gravitate toward when they want something better than commodity white flour. But in November 2019, Hodgson Mill recalled 5-pound bags of their unbleached all-purpose white wheat flour after routine testing found E. coli contamination. Hodgson Mill caught the contamination through testing before widespread illness, which is better than many brands on this list. But the fact remains, their quality control allowed E. coli to make it through production and into packaged flour ready for retail shelves. And like we've already said, E. coli can be quite fatal. So for a brand marketing itself on superior milling practices and natural ingredients, bacterial contamination shows that there are gaps between their marketing claims and actual facility safety. But at least Hodgson Mill's contamination was caught relatively quickly. The next brand had violations spanning an entire year. Number 7, Bob's Red Mill. Now we're hitting brands that people actively seek out because they think they're making healthier choices. Bob's Red Mill has built an empire on the idea of wholesome, organic, stone-ground goodness. That smiling face of Bob Moore on every package. The promise of pure, natural ingredients. And for a lot of people, Bob's Red Mill is worth the premium price because it represents real food, except when it doesn't. In April 2018, Bob's Red Mill recalled 2,099 cases of their organic amaranth flour after routine testing found Salmonella contamination. Here's where it gets insane. The flour had a best-by date of November 2015. The recall happened in 2018. That means expired flour sat in warehouses and on store shelves for over 2 years before anyone caught the problem. 2 years of selling potentially deadly flour past its expiration date. But Bob's Red Mill wasn't done disappointing their loyal customers. In August 2022, they recalled their organic amaranth grain again for Salmonella contamination across 17 states. Same product line, same deadly bacteria, 4 years apart. That's a systemic problem with sourcing or processing. And then in 2023, independent laboratory testing found glyphosate residues of 143 parts per billion in Bob's Red Mill gluten-free flour. Glyphosate is the main ingredient in Roundup herbicide. It's supposed to be prohibited in organic farming. Yet there it is, in a product marketed to health-conscious consumers who are paying premium prices specifically to avoid these chemicals. You're spending $1.09 per pound for organic flour that's been contaminated with Salmonella twice and contains pesticide residues that shouldn't exist in organic products. Bob's Red Mill proves that a folksy brand image and natural marketing can hide serious quality control failures. But Bob's Red Mill tells you upfront they're supposed to be organic. This next brand, however, hides behind a corporate ownership that most customers never even know about. But wait, if you're starting to realize that the brands you've trusted for years have been lying to you, hit that subscribe button right now. We're exposing the food industry's darkest secrets every single week, and you need to know what you're really putting in your body. And tell me in the comments, what's your favorite flour brand? I'd like to know. Now, let's get to the brands that are even worse, starting with a name that should have known better. Number 6. Martha White. Martha White flour has been a Southern kitchen staple since 1899. For generations, families across the Southeast trusted Martha White for biscuits, cornbread, and everything else that makes Southern cooking special. That deep regional loyalty is exactly what makes this brand's corporate ownership so deceptive. In 2018, private equity firm Brynwood Partners created a hometown food company and bought Martha White, along with Pillsbury and White Lily from J.M. Smucker, for $375 million. Suddenly, these beloved regional brands became just another portfolio of assets designed to generate returns for investors. And in 2019, Hometown Food Company had a catastrophic year. Pillsbury had two major recalls for Salmonella and E. coli, multiple facility contaminations. People got sick, people were hospitalized, and Martha White, being processed in the same facilities under the same corporate quality control systems, became guilty by association. Martha White itself didn't have a direct recall that year, but that's almost beside the point. When your parent company demonstrates systemic failure to maintain food safety across multiple brands, when facilities are shared and oversight is centralized, every brand under that corporate umbrella becomes suspect. You're not buying from a trusted Southern mill anymore. You're buying from a private equity creation that has already proven it will cut corners and compromise safety for profit. The premium you're paying for that regional heritage brand is going to investors who've never baked a biscuit in their lives. And speaking of premium pricing for corporate mediocrity, let's talk about White Lily. Number 5. White Lily. White Lily is the South's luxury flour, milled from 100% soft red winter wheat to an almost silky texture. Bakers across the region swear nothing makes biscuits rise quite like White Lily, and the company knows it, which is why they charge $2.77 per pound, nearly triple what you'd pay for basic all-purpose flour. That premium price creates the expectation that you're buying specialty flour from a brand with standards. Except White Lily is the third brand in the Hometown Food Company portfolio, which means it shares the exact same corporate parent that presided over multiple contamination events in 2019. Same ownership, same facilities in many cases, same quality control oversight that failed to prevent Salmonella and E. coli from reaching consumers. White Lily dodged a direct recall in 2019, but only because the contamination happened to hit other brands in the Hometown portfolio first. The systemic corporate failures that cause those recalls don't stop at brand boundaries. When corporate culture prioritizes profit over safety, and facility maintenance is deferred to cut costs, every brand under that corporate structure is at risk. You're paying luxury prices for flour that comes from the same compromised system that sickened people across multiple states. The premium you're paying isn't buying you safety. It's buying you a heritage brand name that's been hollowed out by private equity ownership. At least White Lily doesn't pretend to be something it's not anymore. The next brand still trades on a reputation it no longer deserves. Number 4. King Arthur. This one legitimately hurts to talk about. King Arthur flour didn't just have a good reputation. For 225 years, it was the reputation. Professional bakers wouldn't use anything else. Serious home bakers saved up to buy King Arthur because consistency matters when you're trying to perfect a recipe. The company printed actual protein percentages on their bags when other brands wouldn't commit to those specifics. They aged their flour naturally instead of using chemical bleaching agents. King Arthur was the brand you recommended to people who asked what flour they should use. And then June 2019 happened. King Arthur announced a recall of 14,218 cases of their 5-pound unbleached all-purpose flour for potential E. coli O26 contamination. That's 71,090 bags of flour. The contamination traced back to wheat supplied by ADM Milling's Buffalo facility, the same source that contaminated Baker's Corner and several other brands in the same outbreak. But what made King Arthur's recall particularly disturbing is that it kept expanding. In October, 4 months after the initial recall, King Arthur added 25-pound bags sold at Costco. In November, they added more lot codes they'd somehow missed in the first 2 rounds. The recall dragged on for 5 months as they kept discovering more contaminated batches that should have been caught immediately. For a company built on precision and consistency, this was a catastrophic failure. The E. coli O26 outbreak linked to this contamination sickened people across multiple states, with some requiring hospitalization for severe complications. King Arthur's response since then has been genuinely impressive. They completely overhauled their quality control systems. They implemented daily batch testing where actual baking performance is verified before products ship. They've maintained transparency about their processes. And crucially, they haven't had a recall since 2019. That's 5 years of clean operations, which suggests they actually learned from their failure and invested in prevention. But the fundamental truth remains. Even America's most trusted flour brand, with over 2 centuries of reputation, couldn't prevent a massive, months-long contamination event. If it happened to King Arthur, no brand is truly safe. And unlike King Arthur, which at least took accountability seriously, the brands coming up didn't learn anything at all. Number 3, General Mills. General Mills is an entire corporate structure built on flour production, with Gold Medal as its flagship and various other brands under its control. And over the past decade, General Mills has demonstrated the most consistent pattern of deadly contamination in the American flour industry. Start with 2016. From December 2015 through September 2016, an E. coli O121 outbreak linked to General Mills flour sickened 63 people across 24 states. The company's response was to recall 10 million pounds of flour. 10 million pounds. FDA traced it to their Kansas City facility surrounded by rail yards and livestock routes, creating the perfect conditions for animal waste contamination. General Mills knew this for years but never fixed it. Why? The recall costs were over $15 million. Annual revenue was over $20 billion. The fine for sickening 63 people was a rounding error on their balance sheet. Then came 2019. General Mills had 2 separate flour recalls that year. In June, Salmonella contamination in their unbleached flour. The company refused to disclose how many bags were affected. In September, E. coli O26 in their unbleached flour again. 2 different deadly pathogens in the same year. And still, the Kansas City facility stayed operational. Then 2023 brought their worst violation yet. In April, General Mills recalled 413,862 bags of Gold Medal flour for Salmonella infantis contamination. That's over 2 million pounds. 14 people got sick across 13 states. 3 were hospitalized. FDA investigators found Salmonella in factory samples that matched the outbreak strain. Not suspected, confirmed. And the truly evil part is that the recall lasted 2.5 years because the contaminated flour had better if used by dates of March 2024. For months, people were baking with salmonella-contaminated flour, making cookies for their kids, baking birthday cakes, completely unaware. 4 major outbreaks in 7 years. This is a calculated corporate policy because lawsuits cost less than prevention. But at least you know you're buying General Mills. The next brand has perfected the art of hiding behind other companies' labels. Number 2, ConAgra brands. You've probably never bought ConAgra flour, or so you think. ConAgra operates with $12 billion in revenue, but they don't sell flour under their own name. They manufacture it for everyone else. Great value at Walmart? ConAgra. Kroger store brand? ConAgra. Safeway, Albertsons, hundreds of chains? All ConAgra. The label says manufactured for your local store, hiding who actually made it. In May 2016, ConAgra manufactured flour caused one of the largest E. coli outbreaks in history. All 50 states were affected. 56 people were sick. 15 were hospitalized. Both E. coli O121 and O26 from a single ConAgra facility. Here's the sinister part. When recalls happened, Walmart, Kroger, and regional chains took the PR hit. ConAgra's name barely made headlines. Consumers switched brands thinking they were safer, but just bought different labels from the same contaminated Conagra facility. No accountability, no backlash, no consequences. Conagra has had salmonella in peanut butter, listeria in frozen vegetables, each time under different brand names, making it impossible to track back to Conagra as the source. That store brand in your pantry right now? Probably Conagra, and you have no way to know, avoid it, or hold them accountable. They built a system designed to evade consumer awareness. But as bad as Conagra is, there's one supplier that's even worse. One company that contaminated so many brands simultaneously that it revealed the terrifying truth about America's flour supply chain. Number 1. ADM Milling, Archer Daniels Midland. A DM Milling isn't a brand you choose. It's a supplier you can't escape. With over $100 billion in revenue, Archer Daniels Midland is the major wheat miller for North America. When you buy King Arthur, Pillsbury, or store brands, you're likely buying ADM wheat without knowing it. In 2019, ADM's Buffalo facility became the source of the worst multi-brand flour contamination in modern history. One facility, 5 major brands contaminated simultaneously: King Arthur, Pillsbury, Baker's Corner, Robin Hood, and multiple store brands. The E. coli O26 outbreak sickened 30 to 50 people across the US and Canada. Multiple hospitalizations, potential kidney damage. The contamination spanned 8 months before discovery. FDA inspectors found inadequate pathogen testing, poor sanitation, contaminated equipment, and wildlife access to stored wheat. The facility stayed operational throughout. Here's the terrifying part. When ADM fails, every brand fails. King Arthur took the PR hit. Pillsbury issued recalls. Aldi pulled products. But ADM's name barely made headlines. You can switch brands all you want, but if they're all sourcing from ADM, you're not escaping anything. ADM controls 25% of North American wheat, and brands have no alternatives. ADM knows that brands are customers that can't leave, so they keep cutting corners. 15 years of violations. 0 meaningful consequences. That's why they're the worst. So what are you supposed to do? You still need flour. Your family still wants baked goods. Throwing your hands up isn't an option. The good news is there are brands that actually prioritize safety over profit margins. Here are 4 alternatives with clean records and real accountability. But first, if this video made you want to throw out the cookies you baked this morning, hit that like button and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, which of these 10 floor brands have you used? And would you keep using them after today? I'd like to know. All right, on to the good ones. Number 1. Arrowhead Mills. Arrowhead Mills has been producing organic flour since 1960. Every single bag of Arrowhead Mills flour carries 3 major certifications: USDA, Organic, Non-GMO, Project Verified, and Kosher. These are accountability systems that require constant third-party oversight. Each of these certifications can be revoked if Arrowhead Mills fails inspection or testing. That creates real incentive to maintain rigorous quality control. Independent laboratories are constantly checking their flour for contaminants, pesticides, and pathogens. Their flour uses premium hard red winter wheat with 12 to 13% protein content, naturally aged without chemical bleaching or bromidic. You'll pay about $1.50 to $1.80 per pound for Arrowhead Mills, which is definitely premium pricing. But when you're comparing that to brands with multiple recalls and contamination events, for many families, especially those with young children or immunocompromised members, that peace of mind is worth every extra cent. Number 2. King Arthur. I know what you're thinking. I just put King Arthur at number 4 on the worst list, and now I'm recommending them? Here's why. King Arthur's 2019 recall was catastrophic. It destroyed decades of built-up trust. It proved that even the most respected brands can fail spectacularly. But what happened after the recall is what matters. Most companies issue an apology, pay some settlements, and go right back to business as usual. King Arthur didn't do that. They completely rebuilt their quality control from the ground up. They implemented daily batch testing in their on-site test kitchens. Before any production run ships, samples are actually baked into bread, cakes, and cookies. If the performance doesn't meet exact specifications, the entire batch is rejected. They print actual protein percentages on every bag: 11.7% for all-purpose flour, 12.7% for bread flour. Most brands won't commit to those specific numbers because they can't guarantee batch-to-batch consistency. King Arthur can and does because they test every batch. They age their flour naturally for 2 to 4 weeks instead of using chemical bleaching agents to speed the process. They've maintained complete transparency about their sourcing and testing protocols, and crucially, they've had 0 recalls since implementing these reforms in late 2019. That's over 5 years of clean operations. King Arthur flour costs about $1.10 to $1.30 per pound. That's more than gold medal or store brands, but you're paying for a company that learned its lesson the hard way and chose to fix systemic problems instead of just managing PR. You may never trust King Arthur again after 2019, and that's completely understandable. But if you're looking for a brand that demonstrates what actual accountability looks like, King Arthur is the model. Number 3. Small regional mills. Hayden Flour Mills, Janie's Mill, Authentic Foods. This is an entire category of flour production that operates on completely different principles than industrial giants. Small regional mills like Hayden Flour Mills in Arizona, Janie's Mill in Illinois, Authentic Foods in California, and dozens of others across the country source wheat directly from local farmers, often from single-origin crops. They mill in small batches, sometimes just hundreds of pounds at a time, and critically, they can trace every single pound of flour back to the specific field where the wheat was grown. When you buy from Hayden Flour Mills, you're getting heritage wheat varieties grown by farmers in Arizona who have direct relationships with the mill. The transparency is absolute. Authentic Foods runs a dedicated gluten-free facility that tests to 10 parts per million for gluten contamination. You'll find regional mills at farmers markets, food co-ops, and often through direct online ordering from the mill itself. Expect to pay $2 to $4 per pound, which is definitely premium pricing. But what you get in exchange is maximum traceability, direct accountability to mill owners, and support for local agriculture. The miller's name is on the bag, and they're answering emails personally if you have questions. Try getting that kind of access from General Mills or ADM. Number 4. Heat-treated flour. This is genuinely the future of flour safety, and it's insane that it's not standard practice already. Heat-treated flour goes through a controlled heating process that raises the temperature high enough to kill E. coli, Salmonella, and other bacterial pathogens before the flour is packaged. The process doesn't change the flour's baking properties, it doesn't alter nutritional value, it doesn't affect gluten development or protein content. It just eliminates the bacteria that cause outbreaks. The technology exists and has been proven effective. After Nestlé's disastrous 2009 E. coli outbreak from cookie dough, they invested in heat treatment for all flour used in products where consumers might eat the dough raw. It worked. No more outbreaks. King Arthur now offers Cookie Companion, heat-treated flour specifically marketed for recipes where flour might be consumed raw, like edible cookie dough or certain frosting recipes. Some commercial bakery suppliers offer heat-treated options. The challenge is that most grocery stores don't carry heat-treated flour yet because consumer demand hasn't forced the issue. But this is where the market can actually drive change. If enough people start seeking out heat-treated flour and asking their grocery stores to stock it, manufacturers will respond. Heat-treated flour typically costs about 20 to 40% more than regular flour, running around $1.50 to $2.50 per pound depending on the brand. That premium pays for the additional processing step. So that's it. 10 flour brands. 4 major outbreaks in 7 years. Millions of pounds contaminated. 50 plus people were hospitalized. And the brands responsible are still on shelves right now. The FDA isn't going to save you. Corporate accountability is a fantasy. It's on you to protect your family. Go check your pantry right now. Look for these 10 brands. Throw them out. Switch to any of the 4 alternatives we mentioned. Share this video with everyone you know. Like this video and subscribe for more food industry investigations. And tell me in the comments, which of these brands shocked you most? I'd like to know. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.